well in DocuSign. So it'll allow you to pre-fill the forms and then save the pre-filled, let's say, listing agreement. So you can add the listing agreement half filled in every time, for example. Yep, perfect. And I'll show you too in the opportunity section of Command, there are opportunity checklists that you can add that would update with each stage of the transaction to help you use the opportunity, the transaction features in Command more effectively to stay on top of deals and systematize your process. You can actually set it up. And I'm going to show you the how of how to do this, but I just love this feature so much. So you can set up opportunity checklists that would notify your clients automatically when you do things for them, which is awesome. And again, I'll show you the how after we go through a few things, but just to give you a taste of what it would do, right, is when you check off items on your checklist, let's say if it was putting the sign in the yard, getting the pictures on the MLS, you can check it off and it'll automatically email your client to let them know that you've completed those tasks for the day. Okay, so I'm going to show you all of those things. And of course, if there's anything you would like to learn, is there anything off the top of your head you can think of that you would need to learn for DocuSign or transactions or Command in general that you're hoping to learn today? Okay, well, if it comes to you, you just shout it out and we can absolutely make sure that you feel comfortable with anything and all things. Also, just a reminder, of course, you can set up one-on-one appointments with us up to once a week, right? kwbresources.com. And I need tech help on the top right. Right, we've been doing this for 12 years. We know the tech and marketing very, very well. We've done it for over 650 Keller Williams offices across the entire country, right? Hundreds of thousands of realtors. I say all that to tell you, take advantage of the free resource that you're being given by your office to meet with us 30 minutes a week. Okay. All right, so that's, again, I need tech help on the top right of kwbresources.com. Okay. So without further ado, I do want to go ahead and go into DocuSign directly. Of course, just a reminder, if you were in class on Tuesday, right, we did DocuSign 101. So that showed you that it's very important that you start all of your transactions from Command directly. Okay, and if you need a refresher for the DocuSign 101 class, just a reminder that it's on the homepage of KWB Resources. Right under our headshots, the staff headshots, you'll see the video right here. That's DocuSign 101 in about 25 minutes. So you can follow that when you have your next transaction to do it with me and pause it. All right, so in today's class, though, we're going to go directly to DocuSign. Okay, but again, as I mentioned, typically in normal fashion, you would start all transactions from Command. But since we've already started this, let's say in theory, I'm going to go directly to rooms.docusign.com. Okay, so reminder that it's not docusign.com. It will allow you to log in, but more specifically, it's rooms.docusign.com would be the real estate version of DocuSign. Okay, and you'll log in. Typically, it's your KW email to log in. And that password should be the same as Command in theory. I know it just had us all change it, so it might be different. But you will be prompted to log in the first time each day with DocuSign for security, so that is a password you'll need to remember. Does anyone have a good tip on how you save your passwords? What do you do with your passwords, Christian? On your computer? Do you have a list anywhere? Like, oh, wow, that is risky. Yeah. Like okay, come on, like healthcare, things you use once a year. It's like, I don't know. No, yeah, and you can lock it with your Face ID, which I thought was cool. Yeah, notes. And I named it like recipes. So like, yeah, tries even. But yeah, it's face locked, which I appreciate now. You know, I don't know, I lose my face or that password, I'm screwed, right? But I've heard of apps and things like that though as well. Hey, how you doing? Carolyn, do you have a good place you put your passwords? Notes on your phone as well? Yeah, that's huge. I like that, right? Thought it was really cool and savvy. All right, so DocuSign is one of those passwords you would need to write down or have your computer save in the very least. Okay, so I'm going to go into DocuSign again at rooms.docusign.com. If you'd like to follow along on your screen, you can pick any of your DocuSign rooms if you would like to follow along. I'm going to show you how you can edit PDFs and or signed forms. So it would be the same process. And I'll tell you when you would need to use this as well. Okay, so I'm going to click onto a DocuSign room and then select the Documents tab. You'll see the Details tab opens first, and this is showing you any information that autofills into your forms, right? This is filled out from command. It pulls over all of your client's information from KW command. So the more complete the contact record is in command, the more complete it is here. You can, of course, edit it directly from here, but again, most of that autofills back and forth for you. So if you'll go ahead and click on the Documents tab, as we were talking about towards the end of last class, right, the DocuSign 101 class on Tuesday, we pointed out that these blue icons indicate that it's an interactive form, meaning I could just click on the form and start typing it, right? I can add more of those interactive forms by just clicking on Add on the top right. And then that second option down would give you access to all your North and South Carolina forms, assuming you're licensed in both and have paid your dues to both commissions or associations, rather. Now, again, those are all of your interactive forms. You can open it, click to start typing, send for electronic signatures, right? And the signature boxes automatically display. That's what we did the entire last class. If you want to see more on that, I can show you more later. Or again, that's the video on the KWB resources page. However, in today's class, what I'm going to show you is in the situation, let's say you're working with another realtor and they send you, let's say, a copy of the offer signed by their clients. Okay, so they email you the offer signed by their clients, right? And now you have a PDF and you need to send it to your clients to sign. Okay, so I'm going to show you again in the case that you have a PDF. So whether you scanned it to yourself or an agent emailed it to you, right? You have a PDF of the offer, let's say signed by their clients or whatever the form might be. Okay, how can I go ahead and get this into DocuSign to get it signed by my client? Okay, so first of all, let me get a PDF real quick. And I'm just going to download one of the forms to practice with. If you would like to do this with me, to give you a PDF to practice with, this is good practice anyway, because you can see how you can download forms. But when you click the checkbox on the top left of any of these forms, you'll see this bulk action menu appears. Okay, this is a really important menu, so I just want to point out again that that's sneaky. It goes away if you have nothing checked. It's just not even there. You check a checkbox, it gives you this option, which, as you guys know, if you came to class on Tuesday, this is what we typically click, the pen icon to send for electronic signatures. Okay. In this case, if you'll click on the down arrow, the one to the right of that pen icon, so it's the download icon, that will download the form as a PDF on your computer. Okay, and of course, you'll see the print option as well up here. A question I frequently get is, how do I print forms from DocuSign? Okay, because you'll see the way you don't do it. Okay, you'll see my documents at the top. That's where everyone wants to go. And if you print it from there, it'll print with the word sample over it, which not that helpful. So if you do want to print out blank forms or forms to bring on your appointment, just a reminder, you would do that from your DocuSign room by clicking the checkbox here and then clicking print. Okay. But again, for right now, if you could click on that down arrow to download the form, it's just going to download it to a PDF so I can show you how we would work with PDFs in DocuSign. One sec, I'll try again. But again, I just want to reiterate one more time why I'm showing you this is, again, if you were emailed a copy of the form, okay, and then you saved it to your computer, it saves it as a PDF. But now you need to send the form to your clients to sign, right? You'll need to add the signature boxes manually on there, okay? So this is the steps. Again, so if you're taking notes, these would be the notes that you would take to add a PDF and make it editable. Pretty cool. So first of all, we click on add. So I am in the documents tab of my DocuSign room, right? That's where the starting spot. Documents tab in my DocuSign room. And I'm going to click on that blue add button on the top right. This time, I'm going to click on computer though. The top option will search your computer for forms. So in the case that you downloaded that form from the other agent's email, or if you scanned it to your computer, okay, whatever the case is, I'll navigate, let's say, to my downloads, wherever that is. So I can double click to pull the PDF in. So you'll see, right, the difference in the icon now is, right, the PDF, I can tell which one's a PDF versus when it's a blue one, blue icon, I can just start typing this form. You'll see once I open that one, the PDF, yeah, it's not editable. However, DocuSign gives you the tools to make it editable. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that PDF. Again, if you want to follow along or watch on my screen, either one. You'll notice I can't just click to start typing in it like a typical form. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can change that. All right, and you're going to have to use your imagination for this, but imagine in this example, right, it's signed by the buyers, right, and we now need to add initial boxes to sign for the sellers. Okay, so what I would do is to make it editable, I actually just need to pull it into an envelope first. Oh, sorry. So I X'd out of that on the top right. You can just X out if you were looking at a PDF with me. So the next steps are going to be really very similar to what we normally do when we add them to an envelope or send for electronic signature. And right, that's clicking the checkbox on the top left of the PDF. The top left of the PDF. I then want to click this create envelope option. The PDFs, you have to pull it into the quote unquote envelope first, and then edit it. And please stop me if I lose you. Okay, this is for you. Yeah, I'll get you out there. Awesome. No, you're not. And then go into any room that you have if you have a test one, like one that has your name. Doesn't one say Ian Fraser? Is that not a test one? Great. And then I'll catch you up in a second here. All right, so from here, right, you're looking at the envelope. This is the part where you would tell DocuSign who needs to sign this form, right? So if there is, let's say, your buyer client, let's say John Smith. Right, so I'm putting in my buyer client. And then I can click add recipient to add in, let's say if there's a spouse. So name and email ideally. Okay. So all we're doing here is we're telling the system, okay, who needs to be added for signatures, right? Who needs to sign this? Final step now is we click on next on the bottom right. Okay, and this is where things really get exciting or interesting. I need to get out more probably. I think it's this exciting. Yeah. Okay, and so typically you'll see it if you scroll to the very bottom of one of the pages where initial boxes would be. Again, in this example, imagine that it's already signed by the buyers and we just need to add our clients, which is the sellers in this case, their initials, right? They need to initial and sign, let's say, to execute the offer, okay? So on the left-hand side, right, you'll see these colored boxes, okay? You'll see the color of the box correlates to the client in this drop-down menu on the top left. So I see my client's name with a blue dot, and if I click that drop-down, okay, I can see my other client's name, client 2, has a yellow dot. And I can see if I switch that, it changes all the field colors here. So what I would need to do is add an initial box on each section that they need to sign. And again, this is not something that you have to do when you're using a DocuSign form. When you're able to just type in the form, it automatically uses or puts the initial boxes on there for you. Okay. So this would be in the case that you need to, let's say, make edits or get them to sign a PDF. Okay. Are we clear on when we would use this feature? Okay. Thank you. Now the next part is really savvy. So let me show you this next part. This will be a huge time saver because there's 17 pages, 15 initial boxes I need to copy and paste for both clients. Okay, let me show you the most efficient way to copy fields. All right. So now that I've added the yellow one, right, for that client, I'm going to switch the drop down on the top left and add the other color initial box for my other client to sign. Okay. So again, it would be awful to go through and do that for each of these pages. So this would be the more efficient way to do that. And this is kind of a nifty workaround. So you can copy and paste these the whole way down the page by page. So to do that, if I click and hold my mouse and then drag a square, let's say, around those two initial boxes, you'll see it turns them both blue. Okay. Turning them blue selects them, and doing that, right, if I select them, it pulls out this panel so I could delete it, right? If I accidentally laid an initial box here, I could delete it. In this case, I want to copy and paste them, and I want both of them to copy and paste. So that's why I'm going to click and hold my mouse, and if I drag around it, right, it selects both of them. Okay, so they're both blue. So now the keystroke on your keyboard, that's a shortcut, would be Control C or Command C if you're a Mac user. Okay, like you would normally copy. Control C if you're a PC user, Command C if you are a Mac user. C as in copy. So now I'm going to go down to the bottom of the next page where I need to lay those initial boxes. And I usually click about where I want them to lay it, where I want the system to lay it down. And I'm going to do Control V as in Victor, or Command V as in Victor if you're a Mac user. So Control V as in Victor, boom, lays the initial boxes. So then I just need to go to the bottom of the next page, click, Control V as in Victor. Again, Mac users just convert that to Command every time. All the way down, right? That instead of doing triple the amount of clicks in order to, right, add each initial box to each page. Pretty cool, huh? Or is this just one of those things I need to get out more? Maybe that. Well, even if you know that this feature just exists, right, and come find me in the open tech hours, I'll do it with you. I'll do it for you, for that matter. But good, right? But like sitting there and laying one at a time and wasting an hour of your night when you could instead just say, "Oh, I'll go to the open tech hour time tomorrow and have Leah do this for me." That's a better idea, right? Or just an option for you. Yeah, around for Keller Williams offices. Exactly, yeah. So when we started at Scholarly Marketing, we were in 100 different KW offices, and when I left, we had expanded to 650, which was cool. It was cool to see it grow like that. Yeah. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was virtual, so that helped. Yeah, but I do travel to teach sometimes, so that's good. But great question. Right. And you have does that even work on your iPad? Let's see. Good question. Let's see what happens. I think. Yeah, I would say yes. Control, yeah, copy. Let me just see, make sure it pastes correctly. Yeah, that totally works. And does that work for you on your touch screen though too? Awesome, love to hear that. I see. In order to paste it, that makes sense. Now, I need to tell you something important about signature fields. So if you can scroll to page 16-ish where the signature fields are. Right. No. Okay. 14, please. So if you scroll to 14, it's just same concept. There's just one thing you need to know. And that is when you're adding a signature field, right? So for your sellers to sign right here, same concept, right? I see the signature field, great. I lay that for each color dot of my client. But the extra thing to know is typically the date field does not automatically populate. So if you are adding fields like this, for the signature field specifically, if you need that to be dated, it will date it automatically when they sign it for them, right? It'll date it, but you as the agent need to just make sure you're adding the date field for signatures only. You want me to repeat that? Sorry. Is that clear? Or... Okay. Yes. Yeah, so dot loop, right, automatically time and date stamps it, right? And for DocuSign, yes, it'll do that for them as well. When they sign, it automatically pops the date in of their signature, but you as the agent would just have to add the date signed field. And this is, again, only really if you are editing a PDF, right? Because the interactive forms in DocuSign, I don't know if you've watched that class or gone through all of that. Okay, I can show you that later. But then it automatically does it for you. It automatically has the fields. We're just adding the fields since it's a PDF in this case. Exactly. Exactly right. Yes, absolutely. All right, so that's for signatures. So just to tell you one more tidbit on PDFs here, editing PDFs. So if you did want to make an edit to the form, okay? So if it's a signed form and you wanted to, like, let's say, change the settlement date and have your client sign for it. Of course, there are amendments, right? And things, or addendums, sorry, for things like that. However, to give you an idea of how you as the agent would go about making a change or editing a PDF, okay? Just one slight difference. So on the left-hand side where we see all of these are clients fields, for you as the agent, you'll see this little pencil icon right here. Okay, that little pencil icon on the far gray toolbar, okay, that'll show you gray fields. Gray fields are you as the client. So if you you as the agent. So if you lay a text field, for example, you'll be able to fill it in. In contrast, and you can just stay where you are here, but in contrast, if I were to lay, let's say, a text box that was blue, that would make my client fill it out, which might be good, right? If I want to put that for personal property that's conveying and I want him to fill it out, great. That's when I would lay the blue text box for him. In this case, if it's something I want to change, let's say I want to change the settlement date in this scenario, okay, or whatever it might be. All right, so let's say it has it here. So I want to put a strike through there, put a new date, and then I would like to have initial boxes for my clients to sign, okay? So in that example, how that would look, imagine there's a date here. I could strike through that with this line icon. And again, I got here by clicking on the little pencil icon on the far gray toolbar. You'll see an option for a line. That would allow you to strike through anything that you want to change. Okay, so just imagine there's a date under that line. I can stretch it. I can, right, if I click on the dots on either side here, so you can lengthen it whatever size you need. And then I'm going to, so I did the line, now I'm going to add text. Okay, so again, gray indicating that it's just going to let me as the agent fill it in, right? Same concept when I lay the text box. I can make it larger, right? I can resize the text box by clicking on the corners, those dots, get selected. But in general, I can double click, let's say, and put in a new settlement date, okay? And just to take it the final step, you know, if I'm making changes to a signed form and I need my clients to sign for that change, that's when I would switch back to the colored fields, and that's that top icon on the far left here. And I could lay initial boxes, let's say, for both of my clients. And again, I have a 10-minute video on how to do this. I'll show you where all the videos are as I go over this. So if, again, your job when you come to these classes is know the feature exists, and then how to find the resource that you need when the time comes that you need to use that. Whether that's, again, the open tech times is Tuesday through Friday from 12 to 12:30 in the hub. We're there. If you have any time-sensitive questions, you can come. Again, that's Tuesday through Friday from 12 to 12:30. You can make one-on-one free appointments with us, right? KWB resources, I need tech help. Right. So again, when you come, and these classes are on Tuesday and Thursdays. Thursdays are the more advanced classes, like today. So this is the advanced DocuSign class. So if you're new to DocuSign, sorry if this is overwhelming. I know dot loop's a whole different world. Wow. I see. Wow. You're very ambidextrous and the software user. Yeah. Well, I love that. Yeah, I was a big dot loop user, and I thought I could just, fumble around with DocuSign and learn it. It was not really like that for me, Questions on editing the PDF on here? Would you like to see anything again that I did? Again, if it's more just knowing where to find me when the time comes that you need to use this, that sounds good too. One last thing to add. So when I click on send on the bottom right, it will send it to my client, let's say, to sign, right? These changes. Now, what's important for you to know, and if you were following along, if you want to click on actions and click discard or save and close, either one. But what's important to know, right? Once I click send, if I go back to my DocuSign room in the documents tab, I won't see any of those changes on the form, on the PDF. Right? If I open it, it's going to look the exact same blank. It will not show those changes on the form until your people have signed it and it comes back to your DocuSign room. Okay, so don't think that you did it wrong. You did it right. It just won't show your revisions until they sign it, and that's when it comes back to your DocuSign room. It's just a reminder that your forms, and I'm just going to switch to a room I have signatures in so you can see. Just a reminder that when the form comes back signed, it comes back as a totally separate copy of the form with that green signed icon. Okay, so a reminder that anytime, let's say we edited that offer like we just did, it gets sent for those electronic signatures. When it comes back, it'll come back as a totally separate copy of it with that green signed icon and all those revisions and signatures. Okay. Yes, please. So yeah, history, it's a little, in my opinion, less detailed than dot loop is, but that in general is showing the activity log. You can see as well more detailed for the forms like in the envelopes tab, where I'd really recommend starting if you're trying to figure out what they've done. Go back to my rooms. Yeah. Thank you. So where I would recommend though, starting if you're trying to figure out, hey, have they signed it? What have they done? You want to do that in the envelopes tab. So the envelopes tab is where it shows anytime that you've sent one or a group of forms to be signed. So for example, I can see this group of forms is waiting for others, right? So if I click on that, again, from the envelopes tab, this would show me check marks if anyone has signed it, and it would show me who I'm waiting for. And this is important because, again, it won't come back signed until all parties have signed. So if two people sign and we're waiting on one of them who doesn't know how to open their email, right? Well, they need to sign in order for you to get the fully signed document back. And that's when you can come in and click resend right from here, and it will resend it only to the person who has not yet signed. Just a reminder as well, though, as I said, right, it won't come back to your DocuSign room until all parties have signed. However, you as the agent get an email every time that someone goes to sign. So if, let's say, spouse one goes and signs it, you'll get an email with a notification they signed, and attached to that notification email is a copy of the form with just their signature. Just their signature. You won't see it in your DocuSign room until all parties have signed them. And that's when, right? So once they sign, that's when you would add that sign form to the opportunities documents tab, and I'll show you that again. But before we switch over to command, I do want to show you where you can create templates and save pre-filled out forms in DocuSign. So Again, just to reiterate, the most important two tabs in your DocuSign room, right? We did all of our editing of the forms in the Documents tab, adding forms, accessing forms. And then the Envelopes tab is where you would go to see the status of any group of forms that were sent, who signed it, who you're waiting. Now, in order to pre-fill out forms, we're going to go to a slightly different section, and that would be in the My Documents tab on the very top toolbar. We don't usually go here, but this is where you can create templates. So My Documents on the very, very top. Okay. So from here, if you scroll down the My Forms section, okay, you'll be able to come in and click New Template. Okay, so the idea of this feature is, all right, on the listing agreement, let's say there's a lot of fields that you fill in the same every time, even if it's NA down half the field, right? Or, most of the time it's not on the floodplain, right? So whatever you are filling out that most of the time is the case, we can add that to pre-filled in on a template, bring that pre-filled copy in every time for listing agreement, and save you time. And you can't always change it once it comes in. Okay. So again, step one is we click on My Documents on the very top toolbar. And then step two is we're going to click on New Templates. New Template next to My Form. So I do have to scroll down slightly to find that button. Okay, so New Template. So the top drop down, depending on what I click here, it'll change the second drop down. So essentially, the first one, the DocuSign form packets, that's going to give you smaller categories of the forms. So if I click on form packet, which is what I do, I'll show you what the library looks like too. But I do the DocuSign form packet, because then the second drop down will then show you the forms groups based by if it's a North Carolina or South Carolina listing or sale, which I find helpful. Just to show you the difference, if you were to select the forms library in the top one, you'll see it just gives you all the North Carolina forms and all the South Carolina forms together. So whichever way you would like to navigate is totally fine. I prefer switching it to the form packet so that, let's say, I can come down and find that I'm doing a North Carolina listing. Let's say I want to grab a listing agreement. Or if you want to do a buyer agency, which I heard the buyer agency is now 3 pages. Is that right? When did that come out? October. So I thought it was just recently changed again, or no, that's the same one since. Yeah. Well, how long was it before? 7? And then it went to 3? That's quite the abridgment. I'm impressed. Yeah, probably. You learn all the forms and then psych, learn this one now. Yeah. Lucky you guys. All right. So if I select, let's say, the North Carolina listing file, and I can select whichever of the forms I would like to create a template for. I can search by the form number or name. In this case, if you want to do what I'm doing a North Carolina listing file. And then the exclusive right to sell, that very top option. I just click on the dot, the radio dot, and click on Use. Okay. So what I would recommend, so it's going to pull up the form so you can start typing in it like you're used to. What I would recommend is pull up one of your other listing agreements in another tab and see what information can I pre-fill in so that every time I pull in this templated version, it's already filled in. And it is changeable once you pull it into your DocuSign room. So let's say, it's not usually on the floodplain, great, you can check that, or it's not stucco, but then if it is, in that case, you can always change it once it's in your DocuSign room, right? But the workflow looks like, I would, let's say, pull up another listing agreement and type in the form and fill in anything that I would want it to always have on here. Let's say I always write in A, uncertain fields. Let's say I usually click certain radio dots, right? Whatever the case is, you can go ahead and pre-fill that in. And that would be, as far as if you don't know what to fill in, that would be a question for your coach, or check your other listing agreement or your sponsor. But essentially all we're doing is we're filling in the information that we would use most of the time. And then we can change the name of it. So you can leave it as it is. right? But I can click the pencil icon up here so that I could rename this, let's say, listing agreement template, right? Or listing agreement and my team name. So again, to change the name, I click the little pencil icon up here, and I'll show you that again. And then I'll click the checkbox or the green check mark here, and that'll save the name. I click that pencil icon to change that name. And I can click on save and close. So I just need to show you how to apply the template now, moving forward. Okay, so as you can see, right, in the form section here, right, these are all of the templates that I have created. Just one note on that for any of these listing, like if you create any templates, you can copy them. So if you fill out one and you want to create a copy, let's say for cash deals or for whatever the case may be, you can create a second copy and it would just copy everything, all your work onto a separate form for another listing agreement. So you can change it slightly and have different versions of the template. Okay, so to show you now, the final step would be how to apply that template. And I do have a video on this. I know this is a few steps. So I'll show you where the videos are in just a second. So to apply the form template, all I would need to do is in my DocuSign room, that's where I went, right? The documents tab, which is where we go to fill out and edit our forms and find new forms, is I would right click on the form that I have a template for. And you'll see it says apply form template. When I click on that, it will add all the information from that template I just created. Okay. Versus, let's say, I don't have a template for the residential property disclosure. So you can see I don't even have that option when I right click on that one. Can you right click on an iPad? Can you right click on your iPad? What do you do to, oh, because you have a keyboard. Is that why? Okay. Okay, great. So you can do everything that I've been showing. It's no problem on there. Great to hear. Great to hear. Right, but I can right click and click apply form template. And if you do have multiple templates for the same form, you'll see that and you would never have this many. I just always show this in class. You would have, let's say, two different ones, one for cash, one for finance deals, or whatever the case may be. If you do have multiple, you'd have the option to select it and apply that form template. Okay. And again, it would automatically fill in one click, right, all that information that we pre-filled in. Questions on templates? All right, the final thing that I'm going to show you in today's class, if you would like to see it, is creating opportunity checklists in KW Command. It's a really cool feature that KW Command has. And this, again, allows you to automatically email your clients when you complete certain tasks. It keeps them in the loop, okay? And so to show you that, we're going to switch tabs over to KW Command. Okay, so we've been in DocuSign that whole time, and if you guys have any other questions about DocuSign, please feel free to shout them out. I'm happy to show you anything in DocuSign. For this feature, this is opportunities, okay? So this is in KW Command. All right, so this would be the tab with the red KW on it, and I'm gonna click on the handshake icon on the left-hand menu would be your opportunities. Okay, so like a transaction, right? So you're going to be looking at your three different pipelines here. I can see my listing pipeline, buyers, leases. I can see my ratio. If I have goals, let's say to do more listings in 2025 than buyers, I can see where I'm hitting on that. Okay. But what's really cool about this pipeline is most systems really only show you under contract to close, right? However, the point of your opportunity pipeline is to add someone here anytime that you have a meaningful conversation with someone about real estate. Okay, so let me give you an idea of when you would add a contact to your database versus when you would add an opportunity in your command account, right? So your database, right, your contacts, and this is very important for you guys to understand to use this productively. Your contact database, you want everyone in there. Everyone you've ever met. You can click a few buttons on your phone. I can show you and I'll import all your phone contacts. You have contacts in Gmail, right? Get them in here. You don't need to send them anything just because they're in here. It just helps you create systems around your contacts. Okay, that's what contacts do. Everyone you've ever spoken to, your dentist, your doctor, I don't care. If they breathe and speak, okay, that's probably, even if they don't. Actually, never mind. I was just trying to. That's true. You need to breathe. Okay, that's fair. They can't buy a house otherwise, I think is the rule. Yeah. Good point. Great points all around. Have you guys heard, was it the 5 Ds of selling, or when people need to sell? It's something like divorce, diamonds, death, diapers. Is there one more? A little morbid, some of those. Yeah. Yeah, right. I like the concept. Because you can think of it to market those niches. I always want to think marketing for like a divorce would be not funny, but like, that is a time you need to buy a house, but how cynical would that ad be? Like, have you guys seen that billboard when you're driving down and it says, life's too short, get a divorce? I'm like, talk about getting kickback on your marketing, right? It's a divorce attorney, so I guess it's a different situation. Downside, thank you. Wow. They're downsizing, that's a 50. Right? I like it, yeah. So like, yeah, when you're thinking about your niche, again, this is a little, right, you should really be thinking in that manner. Because when it comes to marketing online, this is a bit of a sidestep, bear with me. On social media, right, realtors market, oh yeah, you sell homes, so does every other realtor. You know what every other realtor doesn't do? They're not again, with the cynicalness, but like, they're not like what's another word for death specialist, so helping you sell your home when your parent, thank you. Let's go with that. Like, you try to get ghosts out of the house? Like, what are you doing? Right. Or, right, when you focus on hitting that niche, and that's where, right, downsizing, or if you focus in Sun City and the retirement communities, or are they called retirement communities or active living? Is that right? Active living, which I've never. Anyway, you can see how there's a lot of potential in these marketing niches. So welcome back to DocuSign now. That's exactly right. Yes, because it can create. So thank you for bringing me back to that. Then the next step will be anytime that you have a meaningful conversation with someone about real estate, that's when you create an opportunity. So what does that mean? Yes, that's a subjective word, right? Meaningful conversation. That means they're thinking about buying or selling in the next 6 months, year, right? Whatever it is, that's up to you. But what it allows you to do is, okay, let's say I talk to 6 people, or I have 5 meaningful conversations this week, next month. I think I'm going to remember the conversation, but realistically, they're all on different timelines and they all have different needs. How can I realistically keep up with all of that, right? Because we're not talking about just under contract to close. That's enough to keep up with. We're talking about cultivating the relationship. What are the steps I need to be doing to cultivate the relationship to turn it into an appointment? Then it switches to, okay, what steps do I need to be doing to turn the appointment into active? And that's where you can set up these checklists in here. So you don't have to think about that. You go in and look at that and see where you are for each transaction. So let me show you what I mean by it, and then I'll show you how to set it up. So in my opportunities tab, I'm going to click on, let's say, that first one under listings for the cultivate phase, right? Growing the relationship. And when I click on that, it's going to show me any transactions that I have, or these are little opportunities, right? Coming up close. Good. Yeah, I can't see back there. Yeah. So these are all the different transactions, or what command calls opportunities, right? Opportunity is really just an opportunity for a sale or listing, right? So I can see my transactions here, and you won't probably have this unless you've done this before, but I can also see my checklist, and this is what we're going to set up next. And I can see, let's say 1 through 7, this is showing me, okay, what are the items that I need to be doing every time, let's say, okay, I had that meaningful conversation with them about real estate, right? So I'm trying to grow that relationship now. What are the things I need to do to grow that relationship? And I'm going to give you these items. I realize it's blank, and that is the bummer part. You do need to add them in. However, once you do it once, it's always there. Okay. And I'll show you, I have a template for you. All right, but what do I need to do then when I go under appointment to get that to active, right? What do I need to do when I'm active to get it under contract, okay? And that's where, when you're active, let's say, that's when you can really start using what they call client updates. So again, I'm going to show you how to set this up, but the last feature I want to show you is whenever you check off one of these check marks here. So if you check off one of the items, you can make it automatically email your client to let you know that you completed those tasks. So for example, that again makes more sense once you're active, for example. I find that people, the general public, have no idea how much realtors do. So I love the concept that it streamlines your communication and keeps them up to date with all the little things that's happening, and shows them just how much you do when they go active, right? So you can check it off and it automatically will send them an email. So I'm going to show you how to set up those two things. Okay, I just want to show you what the feature is first. All right, so first thing that we want to do is I'm going to show you where the video is on what I'm going to say. And I have a checklist template that we'll just copy and paste into this checklist, okay? So first, let me show you where the notes are, and then we'll do it together if you would like to. For the rest of the class, you can spend doing this little workshop, and I'll show you up here. If you can open a new tab and go to kwbresources.com. Making me play musical chairs. So I have the templates, meaning all the listing checklists and all the buyer checklists, and an Excel spreadsheet for you to copy and paste in the command. To get that, that's on KWB Resources. Hover over Tech Resources on the top black toolbar. And then the third option down for that live tech training. Yeah, I know it's not December anymore, but okay. Scroll down past the old calendar, if you would, to find transaction management. So these are notes from all of our classes. I'm working on alphabetizing them. I'll get there, but transaction management will have these templates that I'm talking about. Again, under tech resources and live tech training, it's about halfway down the page for transaction management. Yes, tech resources, hover over that, live tech training, and it's about halfway down the page past the old calendar. This is what it'll pull up, okay? So if you need DocuSign 101 and DocuSign notes, that's that top link. But what we're working on right now, the very bottom highlighted one, the checklist template, okay? That's going to be the Excel spreadsheet we're going to copy and paste over. To do this when I'm not here, like if you want to do this without me, I just want to point out that I do have a 10-minute video on what I'm going to explain to you and show you right here, setting up the opportunity checklist, and another 10-minute video on how to activate the client update emails, where I explain that they can automatically be emailed, okay? So if the next few steps are a lot, just know you have the directions right here. This is what you need. You can always favorite this, right? If you star it, this is a live Google Doc, so I update it anytime there are changes, and you would always have this. So you can bookmark it. Yes, perfect. I want to say keep going there, transaction management, and then you'll be on what I'm. So then if you can click on the very bottom highlighted option where it says checklist template, if it pops out like that for you, just go ahead and click on it. And I'll explain to you what you're looking at. It's going to look like a lot of words, but I'll explain how it matches up to the checklist, okay? So first of all, to drive your attention to the very bottom, right, we have a buyer and a seller tab. And I just want to throw out there too, Jules and I can add this to your account for $50 if you would much rather not do this. If you would like to do it, it's totally doable for you to do it. It's just more tedious, but also very beneficial for your business. Very, very beneficial. Okay, so seller tab on the very bottom here. First, let me point your attention to on the left-hand side, right? The cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed, right? Those are the same exact items on the checklist, right? Cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. So you have a different checklist for each of those, right? But then under each of those opportunity phases, you have opportunity stages. So it breaks it down, let's say, into sub stages. Right? And I edited the name of mine because I didn't find that. I think it says by default, like watch, nurture, something hot, something like that. You can edit these, that's why I added in like the 6 to 12 months, 3 to 6 months, etc. So to do that, you'll see, and if you're not looking at what I'm looking at, click on your opportunity pipeline and it'll open up, and then click on stages and checklists on the top right. Okay, so if I lost you, right, we're just on the opportunities tab. Click on your pipeline, the listing pipeline, and click on stages and checklists on the top right. Okay. So some things you're looking at here, these are the stage names. Yours probably says, again, something like watch, nurture, hot. So if I want to add in those months, okay, I can click the pencil icon right here. Okay, so if you want to edit the name, I click the pencil icon. Okay, and this is where the template comes into place. So what I do in practice, right, is I have the Excel spreadsheet open in one tab, and I have my command opportunities in another tab, right? I need to switch back and forth, just copying and pasting. So for example, okay, phase 1 cultivate, you can see right here, hot lead, right? This is what I want, 6 to 12 months, or I'm sorry, watch lead. So I'm going to copy that. So you can right click to copy or Control C, Command C, right? And I'm going to come here and paste it in. Okay, that if it puts in that 5%, that's the probability to close. I usually just leave that and click save. Same concept for editing any of those names. This is the pencil icon, and then you can go grab the name from my template or just leave it how it is, okay? Next step, though, is adding the checklist in. And I do have to do this for each one, right? It's a 0 out of 0 probably on your screen. So this is tedious. This is like a watch your favorite show, watch Friends, The Office, whatever in the background, and copy and paste the entire checklist in. So when you click on, let's say 0 out of 0, so under checklist, you'll see it says 0 out of 0 probably items. If you click on that, okay, it'll pull up, again, it's probably blank. You'll pull up, you can click on add task. So what we're doing here is, okay, what is the task that I need to do if I'm 6 to 12 months out, right? They indicate to me they want to buy or sell in a year, right? In this case, sell in a year. What are the items that I would need to do to cultivate the relationship to make sure that I set the appointment when it's time for them in 6 months to a year, right? Okay, well, you can just make that up, right? You can answer that for yourself, or you can come to this tab here, right? The Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to, the first row here, I'm going to copy it, switch tabs back, paste it in. Okay, you can add other information if you would like to, but in general, I'll just paste that in and click create. So what this looks like, what this workflow looks like, is doing that about 100 times, right? Clicking on the next field, copying it, any of these you want at least. You can, of course, add any that you do in your business that aren't on this list. But in general, this gives you a checklist of what you need to be doing each client that's 6 to 12 months out. You know, you'll do this entire checklist, right? And then once you do that checklist, you move them down the pipeline, and the next checklist automatically appears in your transaction for you to complete that one. So the checklist updates as you pull the transaction down your pipeline, which is super, super, super cool. So do you guys understand the workflow in general of this? Great. Great question. And yes, let me show you that next, then the client update. You're correct that by default, it will not go out to them. You have to take like 3 extra steps, which I'll show you, in order for them to get anything. So don't worry about them accidentally getting anything. Great question. Yeah, no problem. The Excel spreadsheet one or the one in command? Yeah, this, right? Yeah, no problem. So that's KWB resources, and then hover over tech resources on the top black toolbar. And then the third option down for live tech training. Yeah. Yeah. So hover over tech resources and click on live training from that drop down. And then it has the old calendar working on it. Go down to the class notes, it's about halfway down. And again, I so recognize it's not easy to find. I'll work on that. Transaction management. And so when you pull that up, just skip for everyone, just a reminder, right? That everything I just said, I haven't gone over the client update emails yet, but everything I said so far is just in this 10-minute video too. So you can pull this up at home, right? Click to follow along, pause it, follow along, rewind it. And all you're doing, but Christian, to answer your question fully, you'll click on checklist template at the bottom here. But it is important that you note that there's a buyer and seller tab separately on the bottom of this Excel spreadsheet. But yeah, it's a copy and paste situation. Yep, got it. Yep. Mm-hmm. Totally right. Transaction management is the name of it. Nice. Perfect. And yeah, you can bookmark this too to always come back to it if that helps. No, I changed it. Wow, that's great. Like the how to. It's like oh, I love that. Because I've seen also, let me click around here. And this is good. What Joel's is talking about, and this is cool. A cool resource if you guys aren't familiar with answers.kw.com. Essentially, just written out articles with screenshots of every single thing you can think of for your KW technology. Like, oh, you want to learn how to do something on your app? Oh, you want to learn how to run a Facebook ad? Whatever it is, you can come into here and type in, let's say, opportunity checklist or client update. Yeah, answers.kw.com. You know which one it was, Joel? This is probably right. Yeah, answers.kw.com is my go-to. If they make any changes, I mean, they update it immediately in days. So this is a great resource for you guys to check out. Yeah, let me know, Jules. And I can always, if you want, I can send you directly these resources. So if you had any trouble like finding the notes or anything, just shoot me an email. And I'll write my email up here. And I'll send you the notes from today's class. And also, if you'd rather us just add the checklist for you, again, just email me and we can add it for you for $50. So final thing I'm going to show you is how to activate the client emails, the client update emails. So again, by default, these will not go out to notify them. However, when we get to the active phase, right, it gets to be really useful for it to automatically tell them. It tells them once a day. So if you completed, let's say, 3 tasks yesterday, putting out the lockbox, putting the sign out, putting the pictures up, whatever it is, right? It'll send them one email with all 3 of those items that you completed. Okay. So depending on what you're looking at on your screen, okay? So you'll see, I'm going to click on actually the opportunities. I'm going to take you back from the beginning just so you guys are fully clear on how we even got here and how you would navigate from the beginning, right? So, right, we got through all of this from the opportunities tab on the left-hand side of command. And I recognize class is over, but just give me about 2 minutes here and you'll notice. All right, opportunities tab on the left-hand side. And if I click on my pipeline, right, I'll open that up. And this is where we went. Just a reminder, how we got to the stages and checklists to edit those is on the top right, right? And just one thing to know as well, when you go and edit or add those checklists in, it will not add the checklist to existing opportunities. So let's say I go in and add 10 different checklist items and come back to my pipeline and I don't see those here. That's okay. It will only add them to new opportunities that you create. So you didn't do anything wrong. Okay, but you'll notice on each one of these opportunity cards, right, or the transaction, each one of these are a separate transaction. I see there's a client update and it says off. So by default, it's off, okay? You'll see though, for this one, client update is on. So I went through and turned that on. So that's how it looks differently. So to do that, to make it actually email your clients, I'll go ahead and click on the opportunity to open it up. Click on the opportunity name to open that up. And you'll see on the top right, I have that same message, right? Client update off. Okay. So in order to turn it on, okay, first of all, so where it says client update right here. So if I click on client update, okay, so I'm going to show you how you can turn it on, and then I'll show you how you can control which items are sent to them automatically, right? Because we might not want all the items on the checklist, but like 4 items we want them to be notified of. So I'll show you that next. All right, but again, I clicked on client updates on the top right. When I clicked on my opportunity to open it, I can turn it on. So right here, you just turn it on. It shows when, so the time that it's going to send. It shows who it's going to send to, and you could add someone if you wanted. But I want to show you what it looks like as well. So you'll see where it says preview down here. When I click on preview, or just watch on my screen. Okay, so this is what it'll look like for them. It autofills your contact information, your headshot, your logo. Okay, if it is your listing, right, it will pull in a picture of the listing, which is cool. But in general, this is what it sends them. And it shows them, okay, here are, let's say, the 3 items that I completed for you yesterday with all of your contact information, option to download the app, which is cool because if they download your app, it's location based. And if their house is for sale, well, they're going to be standing in their house for sale, right? It's a cool thing to show them. All right, so this is what the client update email looks like that would automatically send, right? And it would send one the next day at 11 a.m. for all items that you completed the last 24 hours. So I would click Save Changes if I did want to turn that on. Okay, and again, how I did that was coming up to client updates on the top right. Okay, so now just a final thing to show you guys is how you would automatically make certain items client updates, meaning they get told about it, and other items not. Okay, so this is actually back where we edit the checklist. So if you can come with me, there's a small link on the top left that says sales pipeline / listing, or if you're on your buyer pipeline. Something to take you back inside your pipeline. But if you can just click back into your listing pipeline. All right, and we, again, right, went to stages and checklists in order to edit those checklists for all of our opportunities, right? So that would change it for all of them. So you can see right here, right, it shows client updates. So we haven't talked about this column. So client updates, and it shows how many client updates are on this list. So out of, let's say, the 5 items I have when they're ready to sell, I can see that 2 of them would notify the client. And again, this is more applicable, let's say, when you're active, right? When you're just trying to grow the relationship, it's not really a time you would want to notify them of things you're doing to try to sneakily cultivate your relationship with them. More when you're active, but how you would do that is I just click again, the checklist number. So that's blue, right? And this is where we went to add in checklist items. And this is where I can come in and you'll see it says client update on the right-hand side. So if I want to make this automatically a client update, and again, it won't send if you have it off, but this is saying if you turn client updates on and you check this off, they will automatically get an email the next day that you did that. So then I click on save, right? So now it shows me that I have 3 items that are client updates. Questions on that? Have you guys ever used like a mortgage company that has that feature where you get notified automatically of what they're doing? Movement maybe does that? Yeah, very cool, right? It increases the communication to the client, right? So you can see the value of setting these checklists up. The biggest annoyance is setting the checklist up. But even if you come in the open tech time, right, or comes in the back of these classes, I don't care if you pay attention, use it as a time block to do this and ask me questions if you get stuck, right? That's what's valuable about these classes in the tech time. Even if you don't listen to the class or need us, use it as your time block. And then if you get stuck, oh, hey, there's someone who knows what they're doing, right? Time block your tech. Your tech works for you as much as you work on it, unfortunately, right? Yeah, that's where pouring into your database or setting up these opportunity checklists can really make a difference in your technology. Okay. But again, know that you're not alone. You don't need to remember all of this. You just know where to find me, right? Me and Joel's, right? And again, just to reiterate one more time how you get tech help here, Tuesday through Friday in the hub, 12 to 12:30. We're there for any questions, tech. If you want a one-on-one, KWB resources site, right? I need tech help on the top right. It's free once a week, right? Use it as a time block. If you don't know why you're there, we'll tell you things that you can work on, okay? And then third, these classes, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Advanced is on Thursdays. Tuesdays, the more basic classes for newer agents. But yeah, at the very least, Thursdays would be a great time because I know you guys are all a little higher level. All right, let us know as we can help you. We're around if you have questions. I'll be sticking around. So, but thanks for coming to class, guys. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, of course. Oh, thank you. She comes in for 5 minutes.